Hey everyone, welcome back to.
I would like to have a conversation.
And in this episode, we're talking with
Todd.
Todd, yeah. And we talked about this thing called Memento Mori, which is like a saying where it's like, we're all going to die eventually, of old age or whatever. So we should live our life as best as we can. So we unpacked that a little bit, what it would look like for parents and how we would use it ourselves. And we went off into mad tangents talking about lots of different stuff. Talking about my current injury and fatigue, maybe. And then, yeah, lots of cool things. What are you guys doing today?
Look athletics.
Yeah, well, it's pissing down rain, so we'll see if we'll end up going to it. But do you want to say goodbye to everybody?
Bye.
Bye. Hey everyone, welcome back to I Would Like to Have a Conversation. I quickly pressed record because Todd started talking about what we wanted to talk about today, so we figured we'd get straight into it. So, start from the top where you kind of, or say hey to everybody and then start from the top.
Yeah, welcome back, everybody.
Where you kind of
Yeah, so
yeah.
I was explaining to Chris that I listened to Dr. Michael Gervais. He's a sports performance psychologist. He's actually worked with the Seattle Seahawks, and he had mentioned the psychology podcast. And so the psychology podcast had a woman on who recently wrote a book about this idea of Memento Mori, or that, we only live once and we die. And it was really neat because when we typically think of death, or, we only live once, it often, I think, carries like a negative connotation. And because one, I don't know if it's similar in your cultures, but death is just not, it's not something that's spoken about here. It's not something that people are comfortable with. And I personally believe that we need to get way more comfortable with it, as it's a reality. So the whole idea was like, how do we use this motto as a way to inspire how we live while still creating balance in our life, to rest, to slow down when it's necessary, so we don't get burned out trying to just live every day and every moment with this motto in mind that, I think it's important to be present when as much as we can. I think it's important to, and by being present, truly being present, I think we can talk about a whole nother podcast with the levels of how present we can be. But I just thought it was a really cool conversation to have because I, for one, and be mindful that I'm not all over the place here, but one of my mentors, one of the things he shared with me that was really profound was like this deathbed meditation. Like when you're on your deathbed, who is surrounding you, and what kind of legacy have you left, if you will? Although I have my own thoughts on legacy than probably some other people, but it's like what how did you live your life? Do you have regrets? And how can we live our life with this balance, but also keeping this motto in mind that when I get to the end of my life, I don't want to have regrets. I don't want to feel like I've left things on the table, that I have things on my quote unquote bucket list not checked off. And it was a really powerful conversation, and to tie it around to, I guess, mainly what we do. I think one of my frustrations has always been with some certain clients is, man, we've got this one life, and you and I have spoken about it. It's a lot more fun when you're in shape and you're ready for for adventure, when you've worked on your mind and your emotions. And I know we can attack this from all different angles, but I guess I'll just leave it at that and see what comes up for you. But for me, what comes up is, I often think about like these deathbed meditations, and that helps drive how I show up every day and the things that I'm doing in my life to create an impact, not only for the people that I encounter in my office, because I truly want to help people who are in chronic pain, but also how, I show up for my wife and my kids. And I think that it can tie into this motto for many people and hopefully shift how we show up.
It was kind of like, the company
Yep.
Heroic, and in that, when I was doing the Heroic coaching certification, in there they had like the eulogy
Mm.
exercise. It's like, at your eulogy, what would you like people to say about you and do? And kind of the same mentality of like, which I thought was a really cool exercise. I like it. I like it in the terms of like how we can excuse ourselves out of doing stuff now. Like we'll find reasons not to do a thing, and like you touched on the balance part, which we'll keen to dive into because I've got a story for myself on that anyway. But I used the eulogy exercise as a way to cut through reasons people say they can't do a thing. I was like, cool. Picture yourself at your eulogy. Someone's standing up. It's me. Like I said this with Kat. I was like, it's me standing up, talking about you. And I just shared that same story you just told me at your eulogy. What does that feel like? And she was like, feels fucking shit. Why would you do that? I'm like, yeah. So why do we do it now? Like, it's one of those things where the excuse should be flipped into the tool that, or the obstacle, or the problem, or the thing that we're working on next, and it gives you excitement to knock that next domino over. So whatever the reason is that you say you can't do a thing, that should be the reason why we are going to do that thing, and it becomes our excuse for why we're doing it, and that becomes our new badge. But for me personally, like since the soccer season, I've been on a tear training wise. Like, been going really well, building tons of volume, feeling really, really good. Been building up to like, I did 30 Ks on Sunday over 2 sessions. And the volume has just been growing, growing, growing. I've been watching the data as I've been doing it, and Strava's been like, this is more than your normal volume. Make sure you're recovering. So I'm putting the recovering in and stuff. But then you circle back on the rest thing. So I was like, after soccer, I was like, I just want to get back out on the trails and build tons of capacity. And because I was on a tear, I was like, yeah, this is great. I'm just going to keep going. Last week, I started feeling really flat. And then I do a strength workout on Saturday, then usually smash my legs and then do the 30 Ks of running on Sunday, just to get that feeling for the Spartan races where you got to do back-to-back days. And it makes me not do dumb shit when I run, so it slows me down. But the running on Sunday, like, it is 3 hours. It's a 2 hour, I'll call it a 2 hour treadmill climb, where it's just getting used to mountain climbing. So I did like 3,000 meters vert in 2 hours, and then went for a trail run with Kat. But then on Monday, I had like a recovery session, but my calves were sore. My body was just like, nah. And this week I've just been wanting to sleep. So cue it in, my body's like, you need a rest, otherwise you're going to burn out. So it's one of those things where Memento Mori, I love the concept, but for my personality, I take it too far, and I'll go, 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 hit a massive wall, and then collapse. And then there's the other people who would be too scared to push to their capacity, and will never feel what it's like to really challenge themselves mentally and physically in a way where it moves the needle, it moves their capacity, and changes everything for them. So yeah, I don't know where I was going with that, but right now, the world I'm living in now is like, yeah, I'm in the rest and digest stage of the push,
and and
and
being okay with
then
that.
which doesn't take much. Yeah, which it's hard because my thing is so much about like, I just do the thing, and did like recharge weeks, deload weeks, all that kind of stuff. I've always struggled with, and usually it's my body getting injured. This gives me a natural deload. Like, if anyone's listening, if you're training and you train a lot and you have an injury and you go off for a bit and you come back and train again for heaps, that's your body telling you the deload. You just didn't read it when it asked for it, and so it just told you to stop. So mine's basically kind of the same. My body's getting cooked, but I didn't listen to it, like just energy wise. And then I did that 30 Ks on Sunday, and then now my calves are like, "No, you're done. Have a break." So it's kind of like getting that balance right, which we're never going to know. It's just queuing into what our body, brain, everything's telling us what we need to do. Gives us a second. We're just turning the fan on. It is roasting this
Good
morning.
for you. You're coming out of the winter months, huh? And it's not already.
Yeah,
You know,
and it's like a
when I
sauna.
when I worked for Active Life, the shout out to them if anybody. But I remember the owner and Sean Pastucci. We worked with a lot of athletes, so if anybody wants to know a little bit more about what it was, we programmed for athletes literally all over the world to help them get out of pain. And one of the things that he used to comment about, especially when we worked with a lot of CrossFitters, was um, some of the smartest, strongest athletes. Like he would challenge these people to take a week off,
Mm,
and it was really interesting. And it was nice though that he started changing the narrative for some people, because not only are we looking at it from a training aspect, I'll share a little bit of what I feel went on with me in the past 3 years in the online space. So I know some people, all our listeners, they know I've stepped away for a moment to focus on my clinic. But 3 years ago,
mm,
I made the decision. I saw, what I felt was an opportunity both to improve, me and my wife's family by building this online business and bringing some extra income and being able to expand my reach to help more people. And what I realized was after 3 years, like I was really burnt out. And a big part of like some of my emotional outbursts and my inability to manage my emotions, a lot of that came from just being like mentally exhausted and burnt out from chasing something that at the time was, and I'm still unpacking this because I don't want to
mm,
say that it was something that I didn't want, because I actually feel now more so that as the clinic continues to get more and more established, I want to open up space for some of that, because I truly love working, and I've in hindsight have been able to narrow down who I want to work with now more so than like when you're in it and you feel like you need money and all that. But anyways, but coming out of that, I actually shared with one of my other mentor, Chris. I said, I'm navigating this balance right now where I have this huge opportunity to push in my clinic, but I'm also being really mindful of not burning the candles at both ends right now. And I've leveled
mm.
out more where I feel like my capacity is continuing to grow again, which is really cool. Getting up in the mornings and being consistent with my workouts, getting back to dialing in my nutrition. And above all else, what's important for me is when I'm home, I'm present and I'm not anxious and about the future or bringing in money and things like that. So it's a really cool place to be right now, and that's because I listened to my body and took the time to recover from 3 years of uh, just being on high alert and just
Mm.
probably pumping out cortisol to just help me get through that experience. So
I know we've kind of pivoted a bit, but the burnout thing, when you get it, it's so easy to fall back into it. I've been thinking about it the last 2 weeks because like the training volume has made me tired, and when I get tired, my energy to want to show up for stuff is obviously less. And I find social media the biggest drain of my energy ever. But I know that's where I need to go talk to people and stuff like that. But I'm almost at the point now where I just don't care. Like, want to simplify things, bring it all back to an email list, which is what I was talking to another guy from King's Crew, because King's Crew is no longer a thing anymore. It's shut down. But I was caught up with him last week, and I was like, literally, all I would love to do is be able to like put stuff on social media, which is like these podcast reels, to point people to the email and email it every day, letting people know what I'm doing and how they can work with me if they want to, and that's it. I don't want to do anything else, and that kind of excited me. And he just sat there quietly, and he's like, "Well, then go do it," because it's clear to see that you're burnt out from social media. So the burnout thing can come from so many different areas, but when you think about it, like you were talking about your online business and stuff, you got to do so much stuff to grow your business and also be on social media and be this kind of person that people want to come to. It's a lot of little things that drag on your attention. And Kat and I call it that mental load all the time. And like I am cooked this morning, for lack of a better word, because we're little man's going through a couple more assessments this week. Got to finish the day earlier to be able to get him to it, and then help him regulate afterwards because they're meant to push him into dysregulation, all that kind of shit. And we're just chockers. And Kat's just got to, we're just probably going to get a promotion. And yeah, the mental load's just huge. So I'm actively looking at ways of just emptying the bucket a little bit. So I have capacity to break down whatever's going on. But I'm seeing trends of how it kind of built up. Like even with us talking together, I'd always message you like, "Hey, do you have anything you want to talk about?" Because I haven't even thought about it because my brain's been totally chockers with something else, which I
No,
apologize for.
you're good.
But the Memento Mori kind of like, it's a good reminder. It's not so much as like, I don't see it as like well, I don't anymore. I would have always seen it as like a chase, 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 like adrenaline kind of like go do this awesome shit every single day. And now, since going through all the stuff I have in the last 2 years with the perfect average day stuff, it's like, well, what am I waiting for? Why am I waiting to do this idea of this business that I want to have? If that's what I want to have, just do it and make it work. And just keep tweaking it until it does work. Like, what am I waiting for? That kind of thing. Well, it's all, every time I say, what am I waiting for? I always think of, I know what you did last summer with Sarah. She's just sitting around like, what are you waiting for? Anyone who hasn't seen that movie,
Yes,
go watch it. They remade it.
and the person, I don't want to ruin it, but the person jumps, right? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Dude, I love it. Was that, I know what you did last summer, or was that the scary movie?
No, so that one was in Scary Movie when they took the piss out of it with I can't remember her name. Actually, those boys, the Wayans brothers, Tangent, are coming back to do another Scary
I
Movie.
can't wait.
So that I don't know what number
Scary
we're
Movie
up
2
to.
is the
But
best.
anyway, I could talk about movies forever. But yeah, the reflecting on like burnout for me, coaching the dads and stuff. So I've been doing a lot of journaling, and I've started Build for Adventure again. And then I started getting cooked again, like like feeling a little bit like which sounds terrible, but being fully transparent, it's the I was in it really deep for so long, trying to build an online business to support the family, and I did it, and I burnt out from it, and I shut it down, and just did stuff that I enjoyed for a while, like the marketing stuff with Sock and bits and pieces here and there, and then I was like, oh, I want to bring it back, but do it different with Build for Adventure, and this is probably a good conversation to have, where it's like I fell back into the traits that I was using with the Busy Dad Squad, which is what kind of burnt me out, the behaviors and the actions and all that kind of stuff. And it's kind of led me to burnout, not so much as bad as what it was, but I'm getting that feeling again. So I started doing like trying to figure out what's going on. And it's actually, this conversation is unpacking it for me more, where it's kind of like, because I went back into the thing that I really disliked, which is, if anyone's listening, you don't know how online coaching works, it's a lot of conversations. It's so many conversations to potentially get someone who wants to say yes to sign up with you. Like it could be like, at the moment, it's like 150 to 200 a week to maybe get one, just because of the way with the elections on and inflation and all that shit going on around the world. Everyone's just on edge, which is totally, it's cool. I get it. But yeah, like the burnout rate is high. And I think I think the cool thing is around it, which is what I journaled about yesterday, is like I can choose the way I want to show up for stuff and then figure out how to make that work. So, which is the whole perfect average day thing. It's like, what is the way I'll show up as my most energetic self? And it's usually on these. This is the stuff that makes me the most energetic. It's just conversations, talking to people face to face, but in a right amount,
Fair
not
enough.
like non-stop every day kind of thing. I don't know. I'm going on a bit of a tangent, but it's just my brain sort of
No,
working
this is
through it
great.
all.
I
But
If you want me
yeah,
to,
you go.
yeah, just give yourself time to. One of the things that you had said about the chase, 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 and I agree. Like that was me
Mm,
when I would think of this like concept and motto, and what I also realized, and something you said that triggered me, or not triggered, but like triggered me to think about this was, yeah, for me nowadays, it's not so much chase, chase, chase. What I'm leaning into is more how am I showing, like you had said, how am I showing up and how present can I be?
mm,
And I'm finding
yeah.
that because, and I'll go back to this so people really know, one of the most important things for me is showing up as a father. And what I've realized is even through this motto or concept is that I spent so much time at night when I would come home from work, so stressed about work and so anxious about work and the next day and
Mm,
things like that, that I wasn't present with these kids. And that, like, to me, Memento Mori is being present with them. Like,
mm,
like, even in that moment, I get to be home, I get to be present and living like that's me being a father. And when I'm on my deathbed, I don't want these kids, saying I wasn't there, I wasn't present, I wasn't helping them, you know learn things that are going to be, far more valuable than what they tend to learn in school, which is, regulating your emotions and things like that. And my wife and I have been doing a awesome job recently at like really communicating and helping so we can show up in the way that I have imagined, because it's far different than like how I grew up, and that's how I want it to be. But that's like just a piece of how I can apply this concept and motto to my life, where it doesn't have to be, I got to go, climb Mount Everest, although that might be cool at some point. It's not on my list right now, but you get what I'm saying. Like, I'm not chasing all these things. What I'm finding is when I discover who I am and what it is that I love and all these things, then I get to show up as that. And there's probably nothing cooler than that, when you understand
yeah.
yourself and know yourself, and navigating that doesn't have to be. I'm not saying it's not hard. What am I trying to say? Um, it's been fun, and in the past, like doing that, it felt a lot more difficult and
Mm,
unpleasant. But now I still experience the difficulties, but they're pleasant because I'm like, ooh, what do I get to learn about myself here? And again, I like to relate it back to this
yeah.
motto because I do believe it falls under this umbrella of like, how do I how do I know myself better so I can show up in the way that I want to show up, so that way at the end of my life, the people around me and myself, I don't have those regrets because I worked, I did a lot of work on myself. So that might have been a little tangent, but that's how I am connecting it in
No.
my brain. Because yeah, there is a piece of this motto that is like, go build the business and whatever, build your craft store, whatever it is, whatever the hell it is that's on your mind, go do it. Um, but at the same time, it like, don't forget your family, don't forget who you are, and all of that is just as important as what you think you need to accomplish in this life.
Yeah, I think which most people would know. Like the idea of burnout is literally from people pushing too far in too many directions, which is why when we talk about like with space builders, it's like that hierarchy. Like you still want to set your perfect average day and your goal. Like what does that look like? And you go, cool. What does the health and fitness part look like? What does the family stuff look like? And then what does the career look like after that? It's kind of like a natural flow, and everything kind of flows well with that. And it's funny because I've been working hard on the health and fitness stuff, and the family stuff has just been, rattled. I don't know. I'm just not as present. So I've gone too heavy into the. This is my thinking through it. I've gone too heavy into the fitness, which is sort of hurt the family thing a bit, which in effect hurt the perfect average day because I've gone out of sync a little bit. So realignment, getting back to the basics, the minis, all that kind of shit. For people who are listening, it's like sometimes they might feel trapped in whatever it is they're doing, and I think, which is legit because it's not legit. But no one's ever trapped, really, to be honest. But we get it. We know what you mean by trapped. But going back through, and it's kind of like, where are you bleeding time or energy, which is that recapture and repurpose thing? Bleeding time and energy or money on stuff that is not helping you move to where you want to be. So mine was time and energy in training was going too big and I was losing it in the family. So I got to reduce a little bit there, which you go out of balance all the time. So it's just normal. So balance literally is like you go too far one way and you can swing back the other way and you go like that. And you're just bouncing between the bumpers, which is what we talked about all the time. And I think for people listening, because we talk about, I don't know if it's, I sometimes wonder if it's privilege that we get to talk about that we have our own businesses because it's more flexible and allows us to do more things from the outside perspective. Because I do get this feedback a lot, not directly and indirectly from the circle of people I'm in sometimes where I must be lucky for you to be able to pull up stunts at 12 o'clock every day. I'm like, yeah, I get up at 3. So it's kind of like, it's all different strokes for different folks. But
hold on, there's a lot to unpack for that person. Because so my story is like my parents made less than $40,000 combined. Like I think it was even right around $30,000 combined. Back then when I grew up, like that still wasn't a lot of money, but they made it work. So I came from we didn't go on vacations, we didn't do crap. Like I'm glad I got basketball shoes and a glove and things like that. So I have less like empathy for that in a sense because like I chose this and this isn't fucking easy. So I don't know about privilege. That's a little triggering word. I got a journal about that. But
it is, yeah. Because I was thinking about it when I was like working through some stuff, and then just hearing comments and stuff in certain ways, certain people say things, and I just kind of just deflected off and like whatever. And I was like, I wonder if it's like a privilege thing. They think it's like a privilege, like we've got business privilege or whatever, like because we get to own a business and we get to do whatever we like. We're like, sure. There's a ton of risk that comes with that. And like we've talked about, there's a ton of burnout that comes with that, and stress and anxiety. But we like it because I think if we didn't do it, like I went back into an office for a year and did that 3 days a week and hated it. Like it was fine for 6 months because it was like, oh, this is cool. I just have to show up and do sweet fuck all and still get paid. And I didn't do sweet fuck all because I still had the business drive. But eventually I did not like it because the atmosphere is just so meh. There's no, feels like there's a lack of purpose most of the time. So when the contract was up, I was like, I couldn't wait to get back home and start working on stuff again. And this is the whole idea of like, and this conversation is like that right balance. It's like, yes, we have privilege, but in our eyes, we don't really. We've gone through some shit to get to where we are. And we might not even be where we want to be yet. We just decide and putting the bumpers up of like, this is what we want our life to look like. And having a business is the best way to achieve it.
Yeah.
And that's what we're after.
Yeah. I think, I think the you call it privilege or you just call it, man, I mean, I think even before you made this whole concept of bumpers in the perfect average day a lot clearer for me. I think that's something that I was always striving for. And maybe the people who like perceive this as privilege just haven't gone through that exercise on a deep level. And because they're too
Mm.
scared to ask themselves what it is that they want in this life and be willing to take that risk. I don't know if making a decision is a privilege because these are just series of decisions that we made. Um, so that's really interesting. Maybe we just do some research on privilege and have another conversation because like I don't feel like it's like I wasn't I didn't get this passed down for me from my parents. Like I spent over
Mm.
$400,000 buying this damn thing and I'm still paying it off. You call that a privilege? Like, I got lucky that a bank, like decided that it was good to take on our loan and we pay it off. But as you can see, I'm not over that word yet, Chris.
I was going to say, you
I,
are
I am
triggered.
a little triggered.
The
It's just yeah, but at the same time, like I also like I mean I don't get it because I've worked so hard to get to this point to realize that my life is in my hands. All the way down
mm,
from like what I want to be doing if I want to run a business to how I show up even when no one else is around. Because I think about
mm.
that often and everybody has that opportunity to do just that. Um,
I think that's it. Like when people are, it's like depression. When you're depressed, it's really hard to think of anything else. So when you're stuck in a rut, it's really hard to see out of
it's
it,
easy to project.
so to speak. Yeah. And jealousy, whatever, I don't know the right word, but that stuff just
Yeah.
gets said. And I think social media makes it harder for people, I would say. This is why I'm kind of wanting to step away from it altogether and just use it on my terms in the sense of, because I think we've talked about it so many times, we just, our only job as a human is to get up every day and feel good in what we do with our family, feel good in our health, feel good in whatever careers we choose to go with. If someone doesn't feel good, we should look at it and make a change and tweak it.
It
It's a problem to
yeah.
solve.
What I'm curious though, what can you dive deeper into social media making it harder on people?
Um, yeah, so I was reading I don't know if it was a study or I can't remember what it was. It was like you see all these reels of people in these faraway places. Might have been you telling me this. I don't know, but you see all these reels in faraway places, but the brain perceives it as them actually being there, but they're not actually there. So they get that brain trigger,
Mm,
that release of like, I made it, endorphins, whatever, and they're like, I'm here, I'm there with them, and then they eventually turn off their phone and then they're back into reality, which is their current suck. But it only sucks because of what you're seeing on social media. If you didn't see it, you wouldn't think your life sucked
got
so
it.
much because you're more present. So social media is kind of pulling people out of their present and making them feel like a lack of resources, a lack of traveling, a lack of whatever, lack of fitness, all that kind of shit. They're just like, I don't have that. I'm never going to get it. So they go back into the hole, swing back on social media to feel good because those things, those reels and all that stuff you see, the highlight reels, make you feel good again, and it's just this shitty spiral. And when I believe, well, this works for me, is like the ripping the band-aid off is the thing that needs to happen, like a full reset, and then changing the story. Like we talk about it like it's we say it a lot, but you need Like it's like a choice. Because I think that's the thing where people think there isn't a choice. There's always a choice. And the choice is like, yeah, go get it. And if you want to do that, figure out how you want to do it and do it on your terms
Yeah.
and go get it. Or choose to stay where you are, but choose to fall in love with what you're already doing. Because that's still a choice.
100%. And that made me think of like I can't remember what I was listening to, but they made the point where, for some people waking up and going to a 9 to 5 and knowing that that's providing for their family and creating that life is absolutely fine, and 100%, like, if that's what you choose, fall in love with it. And I just, that like really
Mm.
hit me because it was during this time where, similar to you, I was like chasing. I was like, that's stupid, you could be doing more. And it's like, well, no, no, but for that person, like, they've created a life, they have a house, they have cars, they can afford everything, they can maybe they've got their life. They go on the number of vacations they want to go on, or whatever it is. And that really like shifted my mindset around it. It's not me. It's not who I want to be. Like, I can't go work for somebody necessarily, or just not want to continue to impacting as many lives as possible. Just going back to real quick about what you said about social media and them kind of like experiencing this thing, and them already like they're like, okay, I've experienced this through this video. It might have been me, but there's a research to show, and I can't pinpoint the source right now, but I remember hearing this, that when people are setting goals and doing like some kind of exercise where they're imagining things, you don't want to imagine you achieving the goal, because it does the same thing to
Mm.
your brain where it kind of shuts it down and says, oh, okay, I've achieved it. What you want to imagine is you performing the tasks that get you to the goal. I think it ties
Mm.
in with what you're saying, because these people who want these lives and they see all these things, they kind of get these hits when they're on social media, and they go back to their life and they feel like there's such this massive, well, you can't see my hands, but this massive gap between where they are and where they want to be. And I think that's a cool thing, that to be able to snap out of that and realize that you can live it. Like, that can be your life. It just may not be it right now, but it's something that you
Mm.
can, like you said, make choices to work towards.
Which I think is like, again, swinging back to like getting clarity on what you really want out of your life. It doesn't have to be like a full long term thing. Like, we only do it every 2 years. And then you look at like Tim Ferriss's dream lining, which is like 12 months. What do you want to be able to do in the next 12 months? And what does it kind of cost to live that life? All those things will give you an idea of what you want to do, and then you can go get after it. Social media is going to stay. It's not going anywhere. And us in Australia, they're literally just about to pass a law that anyone under 16 doesn't get access to social media. So that's going to be huge. I don't know how they're going to police it, but that'd be massive. It'd be good. So I think about the little man Theo's brain with social media. He already gets it with YouTube. Like, we let him on YouTube to search stuff on there, and already I can see stuff. I'm like,
Yeah.
it's going. So that will be amazing because it puts a block on stuff. Takes no willpower for them. They don't have to worry about it. But yeah, this has been. It's a good combo. What you said about like, don't imagine the goal, like achieving it, and imagine the journey. So it's interesting because BG, in the way I was taught with mindset coaching, is imagination theater is picture yourself achieving the goal and then bring in the sensation of what that feels like to attach to that goal, because we don't really know what it's going to feel like yet because we haven't achieved it. But what would be something similar? So
I know who said
my
it, so I'll see if I can get the research behind it.
yeah, because I don't think either
No,
one
no,
of them are
I
wrong,
don't think so
and
either.
I
I
think
think I think part of it is in the person themselves and where their mind is at. But
yeah, I think it's that. Like, if you're someone who's has set goals and then visualizes them being achieved, but you never actually got there, and then you just sort of switch off, then it's like those two camps where it's like, set a goal, tell everybody about it to
right,
keep you accountable. Then there's the other camp that is like, go monk mode, set a goal, disappear for 12 weeks, and come back and tell everybody how awesome you are. There's those two camps. I'm more leaning towards the monk mode side because I'm introverted. So I would set a goal, go away and do it for 12 weeks, and then come back and go, this
Yeah.
is what I learned. I'm not like I did set my goals on social media recently, but it was just not. It's not usually what I do, but people liked to see what I was doing and how the progress was going. It's definitely not what I would do. But that's a bit of a tangent. But we're all about tangents today. It's like a
Good.
Tarantino
This is
movie.
this is
Just
the
swinging around.
conversation you always want to have, like, right? It's just, where does it
Yeah.
go? I have a go ahead.
So I think,
No, you go.
yeah,
'Cause
you go.
my question is probably going to throw us way off to what we're talking about. So
I was thinking about tools
yeah, okay,
for people who are like we'll link in, I don't know, the meaning of Memento Mori. I'll put it in the show notes, and then like I think number one tool, like yes, Memento Mori, bumpers is a good like addition to that. Like that book will keep you on track and allow you to bounce left and right, which is natural, but allow you to keep moving to where you want to go, which is this idea of your perfect average life. But also ask the right questions. Like, is this a race you actually want to be in, or is this something you saw on social media and
right.
it sounds cool? And this is normal. Like social media marketing, it's meant to do this shit. I bought a course last week. It was a tiny course. It was $47. I didn't need it. It just looked good. I wanted to see what it was like. It's stuff. It
Falling
works.
back into those
And,
habits of buying all the courses. Come on,
yeah.
Chris.
And that, and the only reason I got it is like because you can learn it in an hour.
Yeah,
I'm like, oh, this sounds cool. And I listened to it. I was like, I already knew this stuff.
good
So
confirmation.
this is like a good reminder. Yeah, confirmation bias. It was like this is a good like social media like is built for this. It's to get
Yeah,
you to do shit. So don't feel bad that you fall into those kind of traps or anything. It's just learning tools. The more knowledge, the better. But yeah, I think Memento Mori, finding out what you want to do and like knowing that you're going to die, so
yeah,
do stuff, but use bumpers to keep you in alignment. And then there's like those other books like Atomic Habits and Elastic Habits is like the tools to keep you going long term. So those four books, math, four books. Well, the Memento Mori, there probably is a book on it, but you probably don't need to do that. Just go
yeah,
read the meaning and you will
yeah.
get the idea. But yeah, bumpers to make sure you are running the race that you actually want to run in. And then use Atomic Habits and Elastic Habits to figure out the stuff you need to do to get there. And then collect proof.
I think what I'm going to do.
Feel good.
Thank you for sharing those tools. On that psychology podcast, and I can't remember which one it was. What was really interesting is that they had poked fun at habits, and they actually wanted to
Yeah.
bring like they're like maybe we got, and they didn't like know his name. They're like, oh, that guy like was big on habits. They're like, we need to get him on here because whatever they were talking about, and I can't remember. It was a long drive down to New Jersey, but they had something to do with habits. So I love how like this stuff is constantly evolving as well. But the tools that are out there obviously are tools that have worked and have shown. It's just, when you put this person in front of you, I think that's what we learn in coaching, right? And even being a doctor, especially in this day and age with the way our medical system is it's, there's a shift, hopefully a bigger shift coming that we're and I hate to even say treating the person, but let's just call it that for now, but treating the person instead of the symptom or the disease. But yeah, those are all great tools to if you feel stuck or just need something to just like knock you out of like wherever you're at, or just to create some momentum. Those I mean, the biggest one for me when let me back up. One of the things that one of my other mentors had shared was we started out with like a 10-year, 5-year, 3-year, 1 year. And one of the things he said that was really powerful for me, he said, listen, he said, the people who are going to be like really successful and that it's going to seem like they're moving fast didn't start out and end with the same 10-year goal. What happened is because they move fast, they ran into roadblocks, or they figured out quickly that this isn't what they want to do because they moved fast. And he had used like Alex Ramosi and all that, but like just these people who we look at as like high achievers, what they're doing is that they're just moving really fast, and and you didn't see all the times that they redirected, or and most people would consider failed, but it's not a failure. It's these people just move so fast, and by moving quickly, they can find out what it is that they love. And I'll just use my wife as an example. Like after undergrad, she thought she wanted to be a pediatric dentist. Well, again, you can be like, well, did she move fast? But she went and shadowed somebody. Quickly learned that's not what she wanted to do. Like no, like I'm out. Like this is it. But I guess I just use that as a practical way for people to see what we're talking about how to move fast and figure this stuff out, because you're not going to figure it out just sitting there. And just kind of going back to the Memento Mori, like you can live your life and still like go through these hard times. You can still go through these times where you're going to be challenged, and you should always feel like you want to be challenged in ways, but you can move quickly in what you perceive as the wrong direction, but it's still moving you towards your perfect average day, if that makes sense. And if anybody were to take
Yeah.
away anything from today's conversation, it's like move fast in a way that is healthy. And we can unpack that, one-on-one with people, so they can understand that rest and recovery and journaling, reflecting is all important. But you get where I'm going with this. I'll just leave it at that's kind of like one of my
Yeah.
final thoughts. I don't know, sure if we're wrapping up, but it's this idea, just like figure out what it is that you want, move towards it. You may figure out that you don't want to do that, and that's okay too. I mean, spent three and a half,
Yeah.
almost 3 years in the online business. It's something I actually like loved when I coached and things like that, and I want to get back to, but I had to unpack that a little bit. Was I a failure? Was it this? And I look back quick, and I was able to like reframe everything. I'm like, no, all of that brought me back to help me realize that my love and passion is in this clinic, and that's okay. I had to step away, right? I had to step away for a second to realize how much I loved it, and that's a part of my journey. And I just hope people take that those experiences are going to be a part of your journey, and they're going to be a normal part of your journey as you figure this all out.
Yeah. And like he says, it's not failure. It's just more tools for the toolbox as you go for the next thing. And I think like what you said, where like those uber successful people tend to have more resources to go at a speed which is faster than some other people. So they still have the same journey. They still go the same distance. Just that they just got more resources to get there faster and find the data they need to make changes quicker. So one, obviously don't compare yourself to people with like tons of resources to do that shit. That's the most important thing. And then two is like understand that you're still on the same journey. You're still learning the same stuff. The cool thing is those people ahead of you and have come up against obstacles that you might not need to come up against because they're passing back down their knowledge to the people behind them. So I think that's the big thing is for a lot of people is like comparison is really hard not to focus on, like comparing yourself to others, but it's so important that every journey is like their own, every person's journey is their own journey. And you said fast, I call it like flow. Like you'll flow towards your thing with the least amount of restriction if you allow yourself to feel good while you're doing it. And if you push, the more harder you push, the more resistance you'll come up against. So I think leaving it on that is good. Unless you want to drop in what you were going to say. Like, what was the thing you were going to bring up?
No, it can go pretty deep. I can leave it with the question. We can think about it. I was curious
do that.
with your. I know we understand the science behind what those screens can do to kids. I'm just curious. Your like the whole idea of like controlling or an aspect of control of our free will and choices.
Like in regards to
Yeah, even up
kids,
to the age of
or say like
16. I understand brains aren't fully developed, and there's a lot that can still be, a young mind like that, even as young as 16, is still pretty impressionable. But I think over here in America, you get a lot of pushback because of freedom, and um,
yes,
so
it's kind of it's a good one to touch on. I don't know the science, but my thoughts are like the screens and social media is going to be a thing anyway, so they need to build the muscle to be able to walk away from it. But up until like 16, I actually think probably until like 21, to be honest, maybe even 28, it'll be the parents' job to be the muscle for them, which means there's going to be dust ups. They're going to be dysregulated. They're going to fight. They're going to scream. They're going to hate your guts because you take the screens away. And it's easier to give it to them, but it's on us as parents to put the bumpers up for them because they don't know how to do that yet. And in the case of Theo, he's only allowed to watch YouTube if it's stop motion, puppet building, or Lego stop motion. So they're the three things he's allowed to watch. And then he loves movies and stuff as well. So it's definitely a juggling act.
Yeah, and I was thinking even globally, because where was I going with that? I just had a thought. No, I can't think of it. Oh, yeah. I mean, I personally think not being able to exercise that muscle both personally and with the parents these days has created what some of the things that we're seeing in society now, where even adults cannot regulate. Adults have the same I need the dopamine hits all the time, and they're not regulating their emotions. I mean, that's essentially what I saw with our election, because post election here, I literally, on one side there's like these adults who are screaming, "You're taking my rights," or at least the women's rights. And I feel like the narrative has been, okay, well, these next 4 years, I'm literally blaming you for you're responsible for my well-being. And that's how it's felt with them screaming on social media. And then you have this other side that are like, my guy won and F you, and like you just put up with it. And I'm like, man, we have two sets of just extremely unregulated adults, and that's what I see more than anything. It's not even the political issue. It's like, we just have these two sets of adults who literally, like, who it's I said what I said. It's the emotional, lack of emotional regulation, and it's really frustrating to see. So
It's kind of so many things we can go with that. We'll have to talk about next week. Like the stuff that just come up in the last week or two around Theo's school and stuff, which will be pretty in tune with what you just kind of said with like emotional regulation and stuff. Pretty crazy. I get it. We'll talk about it next week.
good.
It'll be cool. But yeah, Memento Mori. I think get after it. I think that's what we're saying. Like, get after it, but like keep your checks in balance, which is the bill always comes due. So don't push so hard that you can't pay back the debt.
I like that.
Which is what I'm doing now. I'm repaying my debt this week and just rest and recharge. Look, like the thing you said, there's stuff like I'm a coach. I've been a coach for 15 years. And it's something you mentioned just in it, and it's like challenge the CrossFit guys to take a week off. Because my personality type is a typical type A personality CrossFitter. So I'm the same kind of person. I just love training. It's literally in my DNA. And the challenge is just to take a full week. Like even today I was looking at it, I was like, my calves are a bit sore, but how can I set up my running so I can still run with it, even though my calves are sore? So yeah, checks and balances. Make sure you go after the thing, keep yourself in
Yeah.
check though, which is what we do as coaches. So if you want to reach out, flick us a message. Keen to talk about it. I just love jumping on calls and breaking this shit down. I love taking people's lives and figuring out how to make it work. This health and fitness stuff, or prosperity, or be the man, whatever it is. That's the shit that's fun. So yeah, reach out, ask us questions, send us messages. Sandy, I know you're listening. You keep sending me a video every week. I love it. So
Oh.
thank you. And yeah, I got to get her on. She doesn't want to come on.
Well, shout out to Sandy.
Yeah, she watches every episode and sends me a
That's
video
beautiful.
with just like a roundup of what it looks like.
Thank you so much. That honestly, I get like chills.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Oh man,
it's pretty awesome. She's good people's. Anything you want to wrap up with?
No, I think you summarized it really well. Just like go after it. Go after it with, this, like, but with everything else we said, go after it with flow. And that may not make sense to some people, but like it doesn't mean that you're not going to experience hardships. You're not going to experience obstacles. That's not what we also mean. Like, your flow doesn't mean you're going to not experience those things, but like, because there are people who, even like when you think of the creation of the light bulb, right? Thomas Edison tried 100 times. He found 100 ways how not to make a light bulb. But like, you may run into ways or things that you're gonna question, like, is this the path I'm supposed to be on? But if you can feel in your heart that that's what it is you want to do, then those obstacles are only going to be feedback for you, and opportunities to acquire tools to help you when you do succeed. But if something doesn't feel in alignment and you need help with that, reach out, but check in with yourself. Let it feel like flow, even if you experience those obstacles, because it's just fun doing what you love to do. It's fun.
Mike.
Yeah.
I like that. All right, everybody. See you
Bye-bye.
later.